Yeah, please go ahead.
Am I audible clear enough?
Yes, go ahead. Jai Baba. Atar Meher Baba ki jai.
Tar Meher Baba ki Jai, the seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following seven realities. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. 2. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward, when compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. 6. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, even which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. I have two observations or comments, if I may just say, Karthik and others. See, this the only real love. It says to love everyone, even those who harm you, which means that even if a person is, get angry with somebody, the last line, uh,
Yeah.
to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, even those who harm you. This is very easily read, but it is very difficult to practice, is what I have felt. But we do develop prejudices, we develop some biases. So getting over that, I think, is one of the key goals to reach this reality. And this is really, every time I read this seven realities, I find that it's got a lot of wisdom. And also the real love is the divine love that is there in the second reality. This is some of my thoughts. Jay Baba.
Jai Baba.
No,
Sure.
Baba, I have a question. When we are talking about love, I think we have to be very clear about what do you mean in that particular context. I think that suppose you see a scorpion, like, I mean, it is also Baba is in that, you know. It is like that story, that I had mentioned earlier about the elephant and the Mahut.
Elephant God.
Yeah, the elephant god or the Mahut god. So I think that when Baba, this is my understanding. I hope others can comment on this. This is a very important, situation where a lot of us encounter that we meet people, the good, the bad, and the ugly in our worldly encounters, in our material life and spiritual life. And the question here is that what does it mean to love your enemy? I believe that we have to go beyond that person and his characteristics and attributes, meaning that yes, we might not like that person's character, but behind that person is the same self that is in each one of us. So I think it's more about self awareness rather than saying that I want to love this person even though he beat me. So I think we have to be very careful when we use the word love and understand the contextual aspect and how do we interpret that. So for me, it is what I have done is I'm looking at myself as a player actor every day. The moment I get up in the morning, I'm in a reality show. We are in this conference. This is a reality show. And how I behave here is based on the way I respond or react to people. So all of us are the same self, the same drop soul self, but we have all developed these sanskaras and behave in a certain way. And if we lose conscious of ourselves, our self-awareness, then naturally we start identifying with the form of the body and say like, okay, I don't like this guy. But what I believe the seven reality is saying that can we be self-aware even at that moment that that person is not your enemy, but you don't have to fall in love with that person. That's how I look at it. Jai Baba.
So, Kama, if I may just add, basically some element of tolerance, because we get moved by the body, but there's a soul behind the body, so we respect the soul. Because I'm coming in from a place where you mentioned the Scorpio or Scorpio is there, so maybe we can move away from the Scorpio, or we can
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
stay
In martial
seeing it.
arts, martial arts, the best offense or defense is to run away from the situation unless you have to actually, encounter that person. If you can avoid a fight, great. Martial
I'm
arts
saying
is
that
very meditation.
I think
So I think your point is correct. Yes, supreme tolerance is important. That supreme tolerance has to be related to the violence, non-violence chapter. So in fact, I wanted to ask the audience, how do we interpret this Palestinian Israeli thing that is going on right now in terms of the violence, non-violence chapters? Jai Baba.
so. Defending one's, if I can add, Kama, I'm so sorry, I'm intervening. Others can also speak. I think when you are doing something to defend your country, so that is the non-violence of the brave. That's what I first thought which comes into my mind is you are doing your duty to defend your country, your your territorial rights and your citizens.
Well,
Non-violence of the
intervene here. Let me intervene here. I prepared a talk on the backbiting. We were talking yesterday. Let's see. Tell me where, Karthik, when do you want me to present?
Yeah. So that's fine. I know we are a bit, rambling a bit, but it was all
Deviating. Let's
topical.
not
Yeah, it was topical. So
from
I
love
just
to Palestine, and then slowly we'll get into politics. And I think that's not the way we
No,
want.
but I think Ashok had a valid point. He was asking the question, how do I love the enemy? I think that was the point. That was the discussion here.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
If I may share my view, there is Kama always mentions Viveka. Okay, Viveka is the Sanskrit word. It means last week we had a discussion on the discrimination in Tattva Bodha. One of the 6 points, one of the point is to have Viveka. So, what is the meaning of Viveka? To have to have an understanding between what is real and what is not real. And we know what is real is the God and the truth. What is not real is our world, the world of duality. And all the sanskaras we are involved in this world, as long as we think I am, we are creating these sanskaras. And these sanskaras are also temporary. Temporary means we create a sanskara, we spend the sanskara, and that sanskara is gone. We create newer and spend those things. Those are all over. So we go on changing ourselves. So when we have the change in us, that is not permanent. Okay? So that is the discrimination we have to understand. And when we see a person, whether he is an enemy or a friend, what we have to use our spiritual knowledge is this person his sanskaras, or is he the truth? Is he the God personality? That is what we have to see. So if we can get used to that frame of mind, slowly, it doesn't matter somebody hates us, as long as we lower ourselves, we also feel that God is in us and God is in them, and we try to ignore that. As long as we have importance to myself and other person is other person. As long as we have the separation, we have the problem. So that is what we have to, and the only way to get to the position is to love God. If we love God, we deviate ourselves from paying attention to ourselves. Then we don't have any of these problems. That is the ultimate understanding we should have to be able to love whether he is a friend or an enemy. Jai Baba.
Fine. So, anybody else on the quick response to violence, non-violence question from Kama? And I think my response is it's very contextual. I do not know enough of what's going on the Palestine side, whether it's just non-violence of the brave by the defense of Israel. But whatever it is, it's very sad what's going on. I mean, it's finally people at the receiving end. From a spiritual standpoint, to be honest, I do not know enough to be able to classify this. And I agree with Ravi. I think we should not. I mean, let's not go to politics. We do not know the political implications and the rationale for doing this. So it will end up there. So let's be cognizant of that. Any other quick comments? Because I have to. I have Mamaji 5 minutes for Mamaji on the framework that he's talking about, and then we go to the backbiting. Right? Anybody else? No. Okay. So Mamaji, you were talking about samskaras, their forms, their collection, their unwinding. Just say that again so that everybody pays attention.
No. As we have made lot of PowerPoint presentations regarding violence, non-violence, and action, inaction, and say intelligent action, intelligent inaction, and all that. So similar to that, something is brooding in my mind. Whether can we have a clear picture? Say, if I do an action today, there are a lot of things. It creates an impression. It is going to leave some sanskara. Whether I carry that throughout my life, and also some action of me may be a response to something, and so I may be getting rid of some samskara. How do I recognize these things? And where do we put these experiences that we have in the astral world as a sum total, say, reversal of what we did in the whole life in this cross body, and experience the effect of all that in the astral world, either in the hell or heaven? So how do we graphically chart out these things, and what remains beyond that? So this is what is in my mind. I need some help to understand, and also to clearly chart out something so that we can move ahead with clear understanding.
Interesting. So my offer of help stands. So if you're able to put your thoughts down in paper and pencil, just in some way, we can try to convert that. And of course, we have our PowerPoint expert. He's missing today, but we'll get him to do it. Sunil can also convert it very well. Ravi is also very comfortable with PowerPoint. So I think get the ideas together, but I understand what you're saying. The journey of the sanskara and the impact of action as an extension of what we already did in action. Maybe that's a good thought process. Yeah. With that,
Jai Baba, I think the short answer to a long question is there is no template. To be very frank, we have to create our own framework. And I think the question that which if I've understood it right, I think each one is working on our own sanskaras, and we all have our very unique situations. So the only thing we can do is basically whatever we have read and imbibed from Baba's discourses can help us. So I personally think that in regard to your question, there is no template that I can think of. Jai Baba.
yeah, but That's our project. That's Mamaji's wish. He's a future perfect master. He's going to work on it. Let's give him a chance.
I'll support it.
I am talking in very general perspective of every one of us, not
Yeah.
individual. At the individual level, what Kama said is
It's personal. Yes.
personal. There cannot be a template. But individually, whenever somebody makes an action, and what is the outflow of that, and what are all the ramifications from that? So we can just think in those lines. Let me go ahead with
Think a
this
little
thought
more. Okay,
process.
sure.
And
Sure.
Yeah.
Soma, you
Just
said
want
something, and then we go to backbiting.
No, I was just requesting if I can get a link to all the past feedings on discourses, like you have sent on God Speaks, so I could
Sure.
just go through them.
I will do that.
Okay, thank you so
I'm
much.
a bit behind. I'm a bit behind on uploading videos. I will work on it today, but
Okay.
most of it is online. About 12 weekends worth of stuff is already online. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, just get a link that. And thank you so much.
All right. Over to you, Ravi. So, backbiting.
All right.
It's
Thank
time
you.
to talk about all the people that are not on this call. By the way, my first 24 hours was decent. I did not indulge. I did not get tempted. I think I did well. Back talking, yes, I remember instances, but no backbiting. That's day one for me.
Good, Karthik. Yeah, very
How was
good.
your day?
Congratulations. I also did not do any backbiting. As far as I remember, I only backbite only couple of people who I share. We'd work together. There, anyway, it causes me more work and more stress, more work. Period. That's when I start, because we're all team, right? At work, we're all team. Everyone's input needs to be put in, and that's how the final cancer patient is being treated. So there'll be some bottlenecks, few bottlenecks. That's where I backbite most of the time. And well, today is Saturday. I didn't backbite. Tomorrow is Sunday. I have no problem. Monday I will see more challenge for me.
Okay. All the best.
meant to say Saturday and Sunday are front biting at home.
Okay, what do I
But
what
Ravi, how can you call it backbiting? You are only giving some inputs for the betterment of the patient. Maybe you don't approve of somebody else's approach to the treatment. Why do you say it's backbiting?
Well, I do backbiting. Somebody did not do, somebody behaves, delays and all that stuff. And here everybody is waiting, and it has to pass through me, and I get delayed because other people are not organized.
But that's part of the work. You're not harming somebody.
I know. I've been backbiting last 20 years.
No, but then hold on. So, are you not going and telling those people who are doing those efficient work to fix
They know that.
themselves?
They know
You're
that.
talking
They're
to
just not
others.
able to, what do you call that? Multitasking. They don't know the multitasking. So that's the problem.
So that's context then. Deal with it. Reconcile to
Yeah.
the context. So the machine is
Yes.
slow.
Yes.
Deal with the fact that the machine is slow, and then put the emotion and your high bar aside and say, "Hey, I live with this." Anyway, I can't
Well,
comment without knowing details.
Well, the
All the
problem
best
with
for
me
your.
is I worked for 25 years with a person who is excellent multitasker. She's from Chennai, actually. My boss from Chennai. Oh my God, I learned a lot. Dr. Swaminathan. She is from Chennai, and she's an excellent multitasker. She is such a great multitasker. We will be talking about treating some brain tumor and all these things. Some nurse comes and Dr. Swaminathan, how is your roses? Are they growing good? she immediately turns, talks everything about roses, and then when she is gone, then we switch again to the brain tumor treatment. such a such a versatile person. But she retired. Now we have other end of the spectrum. That's what I'm dealing with. So anyway, who doesn't have problem, huh?
Ravi, ladies are good at multitasking.
Yeah,
I
they're
agree.
good.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I wanted to say that myself. I'm not very good at it, but yeah, I've noticed women are way better.
But if you
Yeah.
speak in that way, I guess nobody can work for a corporate because there's so much politics in there. You know,
I know.
if you're on the spiritual path, then a lot of avenues may close for you.
I know.
One minute.
Anyway, Jai Baba,
Avatar
let's get
Meher,
started on the backbiting.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Okay. Why are we talking backbiting? Because that's not good, right? That is not good. And basically, we want to love Baba more. How do we love more? If we can eliminate some of the stuff that is coming in our way of loving Baba, if we can reduce those factors, then we'll be able to love Baba more. As simple as that. Backbiting, anger, lust, greed, these are some of the things coming our way. So this is the series I want to take up. What is backbiting? Biting in the back. If we do not stop it, what happened to my picture? If we do not stop it, it will bite our back. Okay, it is like this. We love to do this. It's such a pleasant thing to talk about somebody. It gives us a pleasure, right? That's what we are falling for. We are just falling for our own pleasure. By doing this backbiting, we are saying we are right and the other person is wrong. We do not know what monster we are dealing with. That is the problem. We think we are enjoying, and that's a temporary joy. Why is it not good? What is the result out of doing this? And most importantly, what does Baba say about it? So what I did was I Googled Meher Baba and backbiting. I collected some stuff and I put it together. That's what I did like last year, and I'm repeating this. I presented this to few other groups, mainly to our family. Minneapolis, I'm associated with Minneapolis, Minnesota group, Meher Baba group. And then also I presented to the Jimmy Modi's group and us. What is backbiting? Talking negatively about someone who is not present. Negatively. That is the problem. Usually people are involved in the backbite. So Baba also explained what is the definition of the backbiting. He says in Lord Meher, page 4667, Mr. A says to Mr. B, Mr. C has not come. He is a bad man. And Mr. C is not present there. And Mr. A has told this directly to Mr. B. Consequently, there is an exchange of sanskaras in an indirect way between A and Mr. C, who was not present, and in a direct way between Mr. A and B, exchange of sanskaras. Thus, the sanskara of slandering are two types, direct and indirect. Thereby, the minutest sanskaras are created, and for millions of births, it is difficult to be freed from. See that what Baba said? For millions of birds. Well, Baba said this, but how many birds do we have? 84 lakhs, right? That's not million. So I don't know what Baba means, but millions. Anyway, our intellect is acting here. Backbiting. The habit of criticizing our fellow beings is a bad one. At the back of it often lies self-righteousness. We are right, I'm right. Conceit, excessive pride, and a false sense of superiority. See, this is the problem. Yesterday, Mamaji was mentioning. I think Kamaji was also mentioning, and many other people mentioned this. Yes, our ego is the problem. False sense of superiority. Self-righteousness, I am correct. Conceit. These are the problems. Sometimes it indicates envy or a desire of retaliation. You want to retaliate, right? Somebody put us down and we want to retaliate. Backbiting is most difficult to get rid of. Of the three most important things to be eliminated before attaining God realization, greed, lust, and backbiting. This is what Baba said. By the way, what are we meet? We are meeting every week and talking about discourses. What is our goal? Whether we know it or not, our goal is to get God realization. When we are going to get it, how we are going to get it, we depend on Baba. Baba is going to help us. We are what we are. Our sanskaras are all different. We are what we are. Baba helps us. Only thing Baba wants us to do is to hold on to him, hold on to his daman, and love him. Love him more than we love ourselves. Then, for sure, we get God realization soon. Let us believe that, okay? Backbiting is the worst and most disastrous. One can overcome greed and even lust, though both are very hard to get rid of. But by far, the worst and most difficult habit of all to eliminate is that of speaking ill and trying to find faults or flaws in others. It is easily done. We just speak, right? Easily done. Our mind tells us to do it, and we do it. As simple as that. Backbiting and sanskaras. Sanskaras are 7 colors. Sanskaras of lust and anger have different colors. Sanskaras created backbiting are still deeper colors. The thicker the color is, the more deeper the sanskaras are, binding they are. Being backbitten. Okay, there is some advantage of it. What is the advantage? If somebody is talking about you, if you learn that you are the person they are talking about, they're doing us a favor. Don't be angry at them, but be pleased because they're taking away our sanskaras. Okay? Also, pity him or somebody, whoever is doing it, that he is taking load of our sanskaras, and that becomes more burdensome for that person who is doing the backbiting. Kitty Davis was one of the earlier Western Mandali, and she lived with Baba for a few years, and then Baba sent her to Myrtle Beach. She used to be in charge for Myrtle Beach. I had the chance to meet with her in 86. Very, very sweet lady. Baba wants us not to do any bad. Okay, she wrote a book. I will Love only prevails. In that she wrote. She wrote a letter to one of our friends when she was living with Baba. In that she wrote, Baba wants us not to do any backbiting for 1 month. The rule to stop backbiting and criticism was very difficult at first, but now it is working more or less smoothly. And everyone is much happier. See, this is the punchline here. Love alone prevails. Kitty Davis. Very, very loving book. Please read it if you have a chance. All right. Khadabad Farad Irani. Baba used to call him nervous because he was always nervous. He was very handsome, sharp looking. Uh, excuse me, just 1 second, okay? Sorry, I'm sorry, I apologize. So Kadobad, he was waiting near a studio near Bombay, and Baba happened to walk in those days, Baba, in 20s, early 20s. And Baba was walking there and found him. And then Baba started talking to him. And Baba said, I'm going to take a movie and we need some actors. Come and join me. And he immediately agreed and came with him to Mehrabad and started living with him, with Baba. And Baba, one day, he said, nobody should be backbiting. And if anybody backbites, let me know. And they found Baba became a victim. Pendu became a victim of that. And Baba summoned him. And he made him stand there. And Baba bowed down to Pendu, putting his head on the Pendu's feet. And I think yesterday I was telling you this story. Nervous was standing next to Pendu, just looking at it, what Baba was doing. And Baba, I'm sure he did it on purpose, Baba also touched Nervous's feet. And it was a big disappointment for him. And he was very upset. And he was so upset that master should not touch anybody's feet. And he took the bags and he left Mehrabad. And Baba said, don't go, don't go. And he started walking towards the Mehrabad. I'm sorry, to Ahmednagar. And Baba started walking behind him. And then he started walking fast. Baba started walking fast. And he started running. And Baba started running. And then started walking. And Baba started walking. When he was doing all these things, repeating, he stopped and started laughing. Baba went there, hugged him, and brought him back. And Baba said, who is he? He was reincarnated soul, Bhava culture. Bhava culture is the reincarnated soul of Nervous, Khadabad Farad Irani. And there's a funny story I want to include. Backbiting needs to be dishabituated. If we have a habit, we have to cut it out. As simple as that. Was it Karthik was saying to Namita yesterday, how do I cut it out? How do I stop doing backbiting? Stop it. As simple as that. But we have to have some lure. Okay? The lure is we want to love Baba. We want to love Baba more. So we should stop. What solution? Observe. We should observe our own conversations. When we realize that we are doing backbiting, change it into love. That is the best thing we can do by loving the person. When we love a person, we don't backbite. We have our children. Do we backbite on them? We never backbite on them because we love them, right? So same thing. If If we start criticizing anybody, the best thing is to start loving the person, and let's not do backbiting. That's what we have to educate ourselves. So don't let it bite you by backbiting. See, in repentance prayer, I'm sure many of us read every day. There's one sentence. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. See, we read it every day. Unless we pay attention to this, we cannot stop it. And as I said yesterday, why did Baba call Pendu and bow down to him? Because he was doing backbiting. That is an act that will be helpful to all his lovers to be able to stop backbiting with a little effort. Otherwise, we would have to put a lot of effort. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai Baba. That finishes my talk on backbiting.
So I have a question. I have multiple questions actually. Let's start with the last slide and that story. So did the fact that the falling at Pendu's feet and Nervous's feet, did Baba explain that as a way of
No. Baba did not explain. This is what I feel.
And what's your logic for that? Just curious.
Baba did lot of actions like this, and it was, to my understanding, what I heard from different Mandali members talking was Baba's action will create effect
impact
in the society. So, for example, we had a lot of rituals, and we were doing a lot of rituals and giving a lot of importance to ritualistic practices. And Baba did something about writing in the paper, and Baba with two other Mandali members burnt those papers. There's something about it which I have to again read it and maybe bring it back. But that action causes to be less effective among the humanity. And one more instance that's coming to my mind is Baba had to contact Nehru. So in Dehradun, 1 week before or something like that, Baba said to all the Mandali members, play cricket in their front yard. And they put some sticks, and they bought a bat, and they were playing with tennis ball. And they were all feeling very, all the people were watching them out, people who are walking. And these people are, in those days, only children will play with the tennis ball. All the adults will play with only the regular cricket ball. And these guys were playing like children with the tennis balls, so they were all feeling a little bit ashamed. But next day, it came in the newspaper that there will be a cricket match between Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So this act, Baba's act, caused that. That was the that was what Mandali was saying. So Baba said, let's go to the cricket match. So they all went, and somebody in Delhi made a reservation, and they would be able to get seats very close to where the players sit. And Baba was sitting there, and match was about to start. Nehru at that time was the prime minister. He came and he was chatting with the cricket players, all the members, right? Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha members. And Baba was looking at Nehru at a distance, and Nehru was also looking at Meher Baba in between while he was talking to them. And after the talk, Baba said, well, we are done with the cricket match, let's go. So Baba left, Baba and the Mandali left without watching the whole game. So these are the couple of examples. So Baba does something like this that will have an effect for the future.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Ashok has a question. Before that, maybe I'll finish off my question. Can you just open slide 3, please? I think it was 2 or 3. 4 then. 4. Yeah. So when you say exchange, does the I mean, I'm trying to understand, and maybe it's doubt others have as well. So A's sanskaras, what sanskaras go to C, and what sanskaras from C go to A? Now, let's say let's take your example. You're backbiting about the quality of work of your team member to B. So team member C's quality is bad, and then you're talking about B. So what is this exchange of sanskaras? Any thoughts?
So the A is criticizing C, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was talking to B. B is listening interestingly to A, conquering. Let's say he is conquering everything what A said about C. So A is, by criticizing C, acquiring some sanskaras, creating sanskara. That act is creating some sanskaras. B, while participating and concurring with A, talking about C, is also acquiring some sanskara. That is the action he is performing. And C is these guys are talking about C. So that negative talk by these people are taking some of C's sanskaras and taking the burden.
Okay, I understand what's out there, but I'm trying to be a little more specific here, and I'm not able to verbalize my question better, I guess. But I'm hazy on what is the now I have X sanskaras before I did backbiting. What is the delta that gets added to my kitty as A, and what is the what happens to C and so on? I mean, I'm I'm just mathematical here. Karma may relate to this, but I don't know.
Sanskara is an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sanskara is not data. Sanskara is an experience. So every action we do, we create an experience, an impression of that experience, a memory of that impression. It can be a memory, it cannot be a memory, but it is an impression that we have created. By criticizing C, we are creating impression, negative impression. When you yell at somebody, what are you doing? You yell at your employee. You are creating some, depends upon the intention, you are creating some sanskaras, right? That's what's happening here. A is criticizing C that he is wrong, he's a bad man. And B, let's say B is conquering. And if he's not conquering, he's not create. If he stays away from this listening to, he may be listening to A, but mentally he's rejecting everything what A says and not saying anything. He's probably not creating any sanskaras, B. But forget about B. Let's think about A. A is criticizing somebody. That action, negative action creates, even he's talking positively about it, still he creates positive sanskaras.
I can understand this accumulation of samskaras with A because of his act of, say, backbiting. But what he derives out from C, that is a difficult thing to understand, because what is he is accumulating from C because of backbiting on C. What is that samskara he is getting from there? That is a difficult thing to say, understand.
What is he getting out of C?
So you said that some samskara from C is getting reduced on his load and is getting transferred to A.
Yeah.
Because of the act of A backbiting on C.
Yeah. That. Okay. Maybe.
So what
maybe
would that be?
I'm sorry, what is the B?
So what samskaras would it be is what I'm also struggling with. I mean,
Oh,
that exchange.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
I think this
I
is
think I
for something
explained.
to
Maybe
ponder
Kama can.
about. Anybody else has any thoughts on this question? Karma, and then we have two questions already. Ashok and
Well,
Sanjay.
I think
Sanjay.
it is sanskaras is a very very difficult subject to capture in words and all that. It's a very very subliminal thing. Like for example, if you are doing an employee assessment and we say this guy is stupid, like now again it becomes a contextual thing. But Ravi is right. Yes. Um,
Lost you.
Karma, your audio is gone. As we wait for him to come back, Sanjay
Yeah.
and Ashok.
Yeah, I think
sorry.
Kama is right. It's not
Yeah.
very easy to grasp the how all these sanskaras act. It's
Yeah,
not pure thing. Remember, I was telling you an example of ice cream. There's a simple example. If I eat ice cream, I am creating, as long as you like the ice cream, I'm creating, I'm creating ice cream sanskaras. So next time I go around ice cream shop, my sanskaras gets activated because the situation calls for the sanskaras to become active. And let's say I saw somebody eating the ice cream, my old ice cream sanskaras gets activated. He knows we know that how it is to experience the pleasure of eating ice cream. That is the effect of sanskara, ice cream sanskara. Then I go and eat. As long as I'm eating and saying, "Oh, this is so good. I'm enjoying this ice cream." I'm spending the old sanskara by eating. I'm spending the old impression, old experience, but I'm creating a new impression of ice cream sanskara. The only way I don't create this sanskara is if I feel sincerely Baba is eating the sanskara. If I eat sincerely, I can enjoy the ice cream, and at the same time, I offer all my enjoyment to Baba, then I won't create any more sanskaras. That is the definition of sanskara. Simple sanskara. But it's very
Yeah.
complex, Kamasya.
Yes, as Kamaji was saying earlier, it is very, very difficult. And in our daily lives, we need to use our some discrimination, judgment, and deciding on people as in office and other things. Only remedy that I can see is the constant remembrance of Baba. That helps us to stay focused and be objective. And other things is feel his presence around us. And when we find ourselves doing it, we feel, oh, Baba must be listening this actually. And if that kind of feeling is there, automatically, I suppose this will wean away this behavior of criticizing others on their back. That's the only remedy that I can think of, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
good one. Good one. Are you on the
Yeah.
40-day challenge, Sanjay?
Yeah, I am. Yes.
Okay, good.
Why only 40? Yeah. Yeah. So that's
the 40 is
that's
just a number. If we do
yeah.
40, we are hoping we'll stick to it. So
Yeah.
Ashok, you had your hands up.
Yeah, I have a couple of observations. Number one is that it is mentioned. No, I'm saying that silence when we do a mourn or a silence, and so does that mean that our we will not be creating any sanskaras of backbiting, because backbiting is generally when we speak about somebody in somebody's absence. So maybe even thinking by thoughts. Would that be mental backbiting? But of course, the degree or the intensity of sanskaras created by thoughts is lesser than words. And
Very good thought, Ashok. Very good thought. Okay, when we speak to somebody physically, then we create stronger binding sanskaras. Okay, when let's say you maintain silence, you're not talking to anybody, but still you can think, right? Think negatively about somebody. you still create sanskaras, but those are not binding. There are two types of sanskaras. One is binding, one is non-binding. Okay, binding are the problem. So binding, if the samskaras are binding, then we have to go through the same sanskara to get rid of the binding samskara. If it is non-binding, that will be easily, it can be, we can get rid of it by perfect masters, by praying, all these actions, we can get rid of non-binding sanskaras. Let's say when I'm backbiting, let's say I had a scratch on my hand. I use the other hand to scratch it. I don't even remember that I scratched, right? But that is an action. That also creates a non-binding sanskara. Every action, whatever it is, by even when the eyelid closes and opens, we do it so many times, that is an action. That creates a sanskara. But those are all non-binding sanskaras. The problem with the backbiting is we create binding sanskaras.
So I have two more observations. Number
Yeah,
two,
go ahead. That's a very good question, Ashok.
Very interesting point, Ashok. I think. Yeah,
second
go
is
ahead.
the transfer of sanskaras from C, that means reduction of sanskaras of C to A. Is that documented somewhere? Because that is a question I had in the morning today. And third thing is that, one second, before before I forget, is that in Baba's world, when Baba has bowed down to Pendu, when he done this act of backbiting. So basically, there is mentioned somewhere, I want to get it confirmed, that when you touch somebody's feet, you acquire, or his sanskaras are transferred. And that is why, at least in Pune, the Baba Center and all, people don't greet each other by touching feet, even if he's elderly. They either hug or they would say a namaste. So that needs to be clarified, because touch definitely is a is an action. And when you touch somebody else's feet, it is told that some of his sanskaras or many of his sanskaras get transferred. I need to get this clarified, if it is there anywhere in the Baba literature. And other is that this page, maybe we can refer to page 4667 on law of Lord Mayor separately. So this is something which needs to be I have to understand. And the other thing is that whether we say impressions or sanskaras on page 2 of God Speaks, the cause of this difference is that souls have different and diverse impressions and sanskaras. So impressions and sanskaras, to my mind and from God Speaks, is the same. Anybody can.
Yeah, impressions are same. Sanskaras. Sanskara is a Sanskrit word. Impressions is an English word.
That's the easy one. But the other two parts which I raised up, I would want some clarity or maybe some research on.
Okay, bowing down, we do it respectfully, right? There is a difference between Baba bowing down and we bowing down. Humans bowing down to the feet. Baba bowing down to the feet is different. His actions create the effect for the whole humanity. We cannot do the same thing as what Baba says. Our touching is only for the respect of the adults. That's what we do by touching and I think in discourses, Baba did mention about touching the feet. It causes a good sanskaras for us. We get rid of some of the sanskaras by bowing down.
No, but ultimately,
Jay Baba, no, okay, Ashok, I think that Ashok, you still have questions or you're saying something?
He's saying something, Kama. He's saying something.
I just finish I'm just saying that, sorry, that bowing down, and whether, of course, we are a drop soul, but we still have God in ourselves. So maybe a small part of God, and of course, the avatar is the supreme, the highest of the high. But even when we as drop souls touch somebody's feet, also have God in our. I am God is what we are prophesizing. So even that case also, do we create some transfer of sanskaras or we create some sanskaras? These are only my observation questions. The rest can be discussed. Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba Ashok.
I
I think
think
if you refer to the discourses, there is clearly it said that if you go down, especially the advanced spiritual aspirants who think of themselves as self-realized, and they allow people to bow to them and touch their feet, they are taking the sanskaras. The only person ideally you have to touch is the guru, the Sadguru, because the Sadguru wipes off or dissolves your sanskaras. Because the sanskaras of people, ordinary human being, does not affect the Sadguru. But anybody on the path who consider themselves as self-realized and they are in spiritual delusion and allow people to touch their feet, then in the discourses it said that they are taking the sanskaras of those people. And in fact, even with the Indian tradition, I'm not an expert on this. I don't touch anybody's feet, and I don't let anybody touch my feet. I've seen that when I go to the universities here in local schools and colleges, these students come and try to do that. I said no. I tell right in the beginning to the principal and all that, like, you know what, I don't want all this bowing, touching feet and all, because if they want to really do it, they can do it to their Ishtadevata, they can do it to their guru, or they can do it to this Meher Baba, my mentor. If they really want to touch my feet, they can bow down to Meher Baba. Like. So the technical point is here that, in you are exchanging sanskaras, and it's not good because it gives a kind of a ego. You have seen elderly people touching, people's head and all that. I would not do that. So technically, you should not touch anybody's feet nor allow anybody to touch your feet except the feet of the Guru. That's my understanding. Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, any closing remarks on backbiting? Because I know we can
yeah,
jump back.
I think this particular incident of Baba touching feet, I think let's not analyze that to the context of backbiting, because there are many actions Baba has done which are beyond our understanding. So let's leave it at that. Actually, it could be something else that Baba was trying to do. And then, like Baba said, 3/4 of the world will be destroyed, and this is kind of in my language and your understanding, and those kinds of contexts are there. So
No, that was the
yeah,
reason I
yeah,
asked that question as
yeah.
well. I think it's a matter of
Let's leave it at
conjecture.
that.
Let's not
Yeah,
assume.
I, I,
Let's not
yeah.
I
assume it.
think that
Let's not connect
to
it to
add
the
to
backbiting.
Sanjay Nigam's, to
Yeah,
add to Sanjay Nigam's comment, is correct.
yeah.
Don't try to analyze Baba's actions.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
even the Mandali couldn't do it. He told them the one
Yeah.
in we have to. Baba said, "Don't try to copy me." He said, "Obey
yes,
me." Very
yeah.
clear. We
Let's
have to
leave it
obey
at
the
that.
commandments rather than trying to analyze. Why did he bow and all that. That is his inner work, which he said you don't
Yes,
have to understand. Your job is mind your own business of sanskaras. Okay, Baba.
yes. Jai Baba.
Okay.
On a
So
lighter, if I can just add a lighter notes, Karthik, and that is that
sure.
Baba did have penchant for cricket and cricket scores.
Yes, in fact, multiple examples, but it was all his universal work, right? What came to mind was the Satara cricket game, and there have been multiple incidents like that, and it was all part of his universal work. The Mandali represented various aspects, and then he was getting something done through that game, right? But yes, he was, I think, also a cricketer himself. He used to play very well, and in those games, he has actually played and so on. Yeah, good point.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Yeah. So let's move on. I know we have spent a lot of time on this chapter, and I think it was time well spent. Thank you very much, Ravi, for that presentation of backbiting. And I request all of you to probably see those references. Please share that link on the Teams as well as on Telegram so that people can get those reference pages that you have mentioned. And it has opened up a lot of questions and thoughts in my mind. So I'll do some research as well, like you've done, Ravi, and then I'll come back with anything I find. Of course, subject to my crazy work week, but we'll see. Right.
Jai Baba,
So,
thank you.
Jai Baba, yeah, thank you. So we'll start from where we left off yesterday. The last subtitle we covered was Pure Love Excels All Disciplines. Now we start on Divine Love and Human Love. The physical page is 115. Okay. Divine love, Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Divine love is qualitatively different from human love. Human love is for the many in the one, and divine love is for the one in the many. Human love leads to innumerable complications and tangles, but divine love leads to integration and freedom. In divine love, the personal and the impersonal aspects are equally balanced. In human love, the two aspects are in alternating ascendancy. When the personal note is predominant in human love, it leads to utter blindness to the intrinsic worth of other forms. When, as in a sense of duty, love is predominantly impersonal, it often makes one cold, rigid, and mechanical. A sense of duty comes to the individual as an external constraint on behavior, but in divine love, there is unrestrained freedom and unbounded spontaneity. Human love, in its personal and impersonal aspects, is limited. Divine love, with its fusion of the personal and the impersonal aspects, is infinite in being and expression. So I'm not sure I understood the personal and impersonal part in human love. Anybody can comment on that? What is personal aspects of human love and what is impersonal aspects? Because I'm struggling to see how love can be impersonal, right? Here, when as in a sense of duty, love is predominantly impersonal. It often makes one cold, rigid, and mechanical. What's running in my head is if you're cold, rigid, and mechanical, you don't have love at all, right? So I don't know. Any thoughts? Any comments?
Jai Baba, I think my understanding is that personal, impersonal love is like, for example, when you're attached, um, you're attached to the person. And, the idea here is that an example I can give you is about being indifferent and being detached. Okay. So I think there you have a balance between personal and impersonal, in the sense that indifference is being cold hearted. Whereas if you're detached, you are actually using your vivek and vairagya and you understand clearly where your detachment is coming from based on your spiritual knowledge. Now, as
Sure.
far as love is concerned, personal and impersonal, I've also been trying to figure out good examples. It's a very tough one, to be very frank with you. You know, Impersonal love is probably, I think, one example that Baba gave is, that example in Conditions of Happiness, where the father sees his son in tattered clothes and he immediately goes and buys him good clothes. But if he sees a stranger's son out there, he's going to be indifferent about it, correct? So I think the personal and impersonal balance will come where you are actually looking at both the situations equally with unity, not with duality, but that you look at both your son and the stranger's son as oneself, and you're actually doing the deed, the good deed, by providing clothes to both of them. So that's what I think is an example of personal and impersonal. That's what I understood. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, I have this. When you go to the first line, one in the many and many in the one. Human love is for the many in the one, and divine love is for the one in the many. This can somebody just explain this? And
Did we have a
just one.
big discussion last time on this? Last time when we were reading love, we had a big discussion on this. Very beautiful way of saying.
What I've understood is the many self is the ego personality self. Whenever you use the word many, it is the ego personality selves. And the one in the many is the one self in the many ego personality cells. So that is how I interpreted that, because that is a very tough line to understand. But this is how I kind of understood that you look at one as the one self, and the many is the ego personality self. All of us have unique ego personality selves, but behind that is the only one self, the Atma, drop soul, Jan, Roop, whatever you call it. So that is my understanding. Okay, Baba.
Thank you.
Uh,
And another thing I
can
want to
we,
just highlight is that in this, when they use infinite for Baba, it is not the opposite of finite or limited, because the word infinite, when it's used for Baba, is beyond the realm of duality. Maybe you know it, but just highlighting it.
can we have a thought like this? That many in one. Love, human love is for many in one. So one is self is same in everyone, but because we are in duality, we may think them as many, and so love is dissipated amongst different gross forms in different ways. That is human love. So there can be gradations, there can be differences and all that. Whereas divine love is for one in the many. So different gross forms all have the same self, and divine love is for that self. So it is equal and it is non-judgmental. It is say totally the same towards every gross form.
Yeah. I think everybody said very good points. I think they all said the same points. I think each individual, how we do, this is how I am understanding. Let's take the second part of it. Divine love is for the one in the many. So God is one, right? So this the same one is in many, many, many people. God is in me, Baba is in me, Baba is in you, Baba has God in you, in me. That is the second part. What is the first part? All of us are in God. Where are we? What is our address? Our address is we are all in the God. So, human love, as a human, our love is for many, for Tom, Dick, Ashok, Ravi, Kama, everybody in the one, that is Baba. That's what I understand. Jai Baba.
Sure. So I think I'm still struggling with personal and impersonal, but then as Kama said it, I think it's something let's reflect on a little more and try to get to the bottom of it. The indifferent versus detached is a good contrast or similar contrast that you brought out. But let's continue. In divine love, the lover becomes one with beloved. Even the highest type of human love is subject to the limitations of the individual nature, which persists till the seventh plane of involution of consciousness. Divine love arises after the disappearance of the individual mind and is free from the trammels of the individual nature. In human love, the duality of the lover and beloved persists, but in divine love, the lover and the beloved become one. At this stage, the aspirant has stepped out of the domain of duality and becomes one with God. For divine love is God. When the lover and the beloved are one, that is the end and the beginning. Right? So this is the point Kama forcefully made yesterday about only in the seventh plane divine love comes in. Universe sprang into existence for love. It is for love that the whole universe sprang into existence, and it is for the sake of love that it is kept going. God descends into the realm of illusion because the apparent duality of the beloved and the lover is eventually contributory to his conscious enjoyment of his own divinity. The development of love is conditioned and sustained by the tension of duality. Two beautiful lines that cover everything. God has to suffer apparent differentiation into a multiplicity of souls in order to carry on the game of love. They are his own forms, and in relation to them, he at once assumes the roles of the divine lover and the divine beloved. As the beloved, he is the real and the ultimate object of their appreciation. As the divine lover, he is the real and ultimate savior, drawing them back to himself. Thus, though the whole world of duality is only an illusion, that illusion has come into being for a significant purpose. Right. Beautiful paragraph. Dynamics of love. Love is the reflection of God's unity in the world of duality. It constitutes the entire significance of creation. If love were excluded from life, all the souls in the world would assume complete externality to each other, and the only possible relations and contexts in such a loveless world would be superficial and mechanical. It is because of love that the contacts and relations between individual souls become significant. It is love that gives meaning and value to all the happenings in the world of duality. But while love gives meaning to the world of duality, it is at the same time a standing challenge to duality. As love gathers strength, it generates creative restlessness and becomes the main driving power of that spiritual dynamic, which ultimately succeeds in restoring to consciousness the original unity of being. So that is the chapter on love.
Jai Baba, I think, where you mentioned the second last paragraph about God has to suffer apparent,
Apparent.
the word apparent,
Yeah.
one of the important words, apparent adjustments,
Yeah.
apparent differentiation into multiplicity of souls, which is basically drop souls from the state 2A, infinite unconsciousness, in order to carry on the game of love. Okay. There are many instances where Baba talks about God realization as a game of love, a divine sport, a divine romance, or we can call it as a divine puzzle in terms of Jnana Yoga. Now he says they are his own forms, and in relation to them, he at once assumes the roles of the divine lover and the divine beloved. He at once assumes the roles of the divine lover and the divine beloved. It is almost that during the Big Bang, the state 2, which is Paramatma state, when God has the whim to know himself, simultaneously and spontaneously, he divides into infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness. The infinite consciousness, which we know state 2B, is the eternal avataric infinite consciousness, which we may assume as the first master or the divine beloved. So this reminds me of my most famous Baba messages on the everything and the nothing. Can I read the lover and the beloved for all of you? Is that, or you guys are familiar with that?
I can. I
Okay.
think
I was
Let's
reminded
read.
of that.
Let's read, yeah.
Please read. Please read.
Let's read the lover and the beloved, because it is completely complement to this chapter on love, because here we read divine love is God. At this stage, the aspirant has stepped out of the domain of duality and becomes one with God, for divine love is God. When the lover and the beloved are one, that is the end and the beginning. So this is the first chapter from everything and the nothing, the lover and the beloved. It goes like this: God is love, and love must love. And to love, there must be a beloved. And since God is existence, infinite and eternal, there is no one for him to love but himself. And in order to love himself, he must imagine himself as the beloved, whom he as the lover imagines he loves. Beloved and lover implies separation, and separation creates longing, and longing causes search. And the wider and the more intense the search, the greater the separation and the more terrible the longing.
Mhm.
longing is most intense, separation is complete. And the purpose of separation, which was that love might experience itself as lover and beloved, is fulfilled. Let me read this line again. When longing is most intense, separation is complete. And the purpose of separation, which was that love might experience itself as lover and beloved, is fulfilled. And union follows. And when union is attained, the lover knows that he himself was all along the beloved whom he loved and desired union with, and that all the impossible situations that he overcame were obstacles which he himself had placed in the path to himself. To attain union is so impossibly difficult because it is impossible to become what you already are. Union is nothing other than knowledge of oneself as the only one. So I'm going to repeat this statement again. To attain union is so impossibly difficult because it is impossible to become what you already are. Union is nothing other than the knowledge of oneself as the only one. So I think the only one could be interpreted as the only oneself. So, and one more thing I want to read is page number 338, Reincarnation and Karma. Sorry if I'm a little bit, excited here. It goes like this. The subtitle is Analogy of the Drama in Discourses. The drama of the continued life of the individual soul has many acts. From the standpoint of the worldly existence of the soul, a curtain may be said to be drawn over its life after the closing of each act. But no act yields its real significance if it is regarded as complete in itself. It has to be viewed from its wider context as being a link between the acts already performed and the acts still to come. Its meaning is entwined with the theme of the whole drama of which it is a part. The end of the act is not the end of the progressive theme. The actors disappear from the stage of earth only to reappear again in new capacities and new contexts. The actors are so engrossed in their respective roles that they treat them as the be all and end all of all existence. For the major part of their continued lives, running into innumerable incarnations, they are unconscious of the closely guarded truth that the author of the drama, in his imaginative production, himself became all the actors and played the game of hide and seek in order to come into full and conscious possession of his own creative infinity. Infinity has to go through the illusion of finitehood to know itself as infinity. And the author has to play the parts of all of the actors to know himself as the author of this greatest detective story worked out through the cycles of creation. Jai Baba. So I think that what you're seeing is a lot of connection with the seven realities about existence and love. So here you are a definition of what is God, what is divine love, which we can interpret as infinity, existence, truth, self-knowledge, so on and so forth. So Jai Baba, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Kama. Both those references are very appropriate. I'll be updating those, and I think the author and the drama is very interesting, and it summarizes it very well.
Kama is so excited. I feel that he is in fifth or sixth plane now.
I'm playing the game of hide and seek between the fifth and sixth plane.
I know, Kama.
He is still in the thought plane, not in the feeling plane.
Feeling.
Yes, the feeling plane, Baba has to give that grace. So
Right,
I'm not
yes.
even asking him, he will do it. Rajneesh Osho said, self-realization is like winning the lottery. Okay. So to win the lottery, you have to buy the ticket. To buy the ticket, you need money. To need money, you have to have a skill. To have a skill, you have to practice. So I think the self-realization lottery is you have to practice all those postulates. What else? Okay, Baba.
Fake it till you make it. Keep at it.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So on that note, we can wrap up. We still have time, so I'll stop recording. We can just have a chat, switch on video, whatever, right? So
Jai Baba.
I have a suggestion.